What if the biggest mistakes? What if the biggest thing holding you back isn't a lack of opportunity, but waiting for someone else to create the opportunity for you? In a world where it's easy to consume, follow, wait, and blame circumstances, some people choose a different path. They take ownership, take action, and build. Today's guest, Corey Gladwell, is a four-time best-selling author, entrepreneur, speaker, co-founder of authors.io and speakers.io. His work is centered around the philosophy he calls high agency, the belief that extraordinary results come from taking ownership, creating opportunities, and refusing to wait for permission. Our guest today helps leaders, founders, and executives and business owners turn their experience into books, speaking platforms, content, and personal brands that create authority and opportunities that compound over time. But this conversation goes deeper than personal branding. We are talking about ownership, leverage, action, and what it means to take control of the direction of your life and career. Corey, welcome to Control or Be Controlled.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. That was great intro. I appreciate you sharing. I'm excited to connect with you.
All right, so let's start with high agency. What does it actually mean, and why has it become such a central philosophy in your life and work?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think when I speak of high agency, I might mean it in a different way than most people are used to. For me, high agency really is about taking control of your life and your decisions and every experience that you have, and not waiting for permission, not waiting for someone to say it's okay to start that business or it's okay to invent that product or that tool, to just go out and try and figure it out as you go. It's really just understanding that everything is figure outable. Like every idea, every concept was invented by some other man or woman. Every law we have was invented by some other man or woman. Someone just had the idea and said, this is the way the world should work. And why can't that be us deciding that for ourselves and creating the laws for our own life?
Okay, so why do you believe ownership is more powerful than waiting for opportunity?
Yeah, I think, those that have had success in life, and in whatever way that is, right? It doesn't just have to be financially, but it could be emotionally, it could be relationally, it could be, mental health, physically. Whatever successful people have had, they've all had a sense of ownership, a sense of taking control of this life and this experience they have. And I think in the world that we live in now, that is becoming more and more AI driven and more technology driven, high agency, I think, will be the greatest trait, the greatest human trait you can have, to really have some sense of ownership over your time and your life and how you live it, how you experience it, especially as all the jobs are kind of eradicated away. We're going to have nothing but time and decisions to make around it.
All right. Thank you, Corey. So, tell us what separates people who create opportunities from those who constantly wait for opportunities to find them.
One more time on the question. Sorry.
What separates those who create opportunities from those who wait for opportunities to find them?
That's a great question. That's a great question. I think we kind of fail to realize with our human perception how fast the world is moving. Things like exponential growth and the change, and technology again doubles every year in its advancements, and it's moving faster to like once a year now. And so the world is always moving collectively, humanity and everything is progressing and evolving forward. And if we wait around for someone to tell us that we're special, or someone to tell us that we made it, or that people want to hear from us, or people want to follow us or listen to us, then we might be waiting forever. And what I found that has been true for every author we've helped, or most speakers, or influencers or creators, is that no one gave them permission. No one told them that they were going to be a star. They just went out and created the opportunity. And I think that ability to find opportunity, to see opportunity, and to create opportunity is just, again, such a key trait in the 21st century, because you're not waiting around. You're not just like letting life pass you by. You're finding a way to create and to build. And the difference is, like, most people are really averse to failure, right? They don't want to fail. They don't want to, have everyone look at them like they did something wrong and like they're not good enough. And so they let insecurities and fears hold them back, when in reality, the people that are successful have failed more times than most people have ever even tried, because you're going to fail over and over again if you're ever going to succeed. And when you start to look at failure as feedback instead of like you're bad or you're wrong, it's like failure is just feedback. It's telling you a way that you can't do something. So find a different way, test it and try, and begin looking at life as an experiment where you're going to try a bunch of different things, and maybe 9 out of 10 things are going to fail, but one thing is going to go really well, and you're going to have success, and you're going to have more success than someone who hasn't tried at all.
Okay, do you think higher agency is something you are born with or something you develop?
That's a great question as well. I think there's some people that maybe have more of an inclination to high agency, but I don't know if I really believe that any of us are born with a set amount of traits that others can't learn. Like, I believe we probably have some kind of set of personality traits that we're born with, based on our genetics and those kind of things. But I think everything is teachable. Everything is learnable. Like, you can go out and practice and exercise that decision-making ability and exercise that, trying and failing, and all those things are just like a muscle. And the more you work at it, the more you try, the better it's going to get and the easier it's going to get to practice those things. And I was talking to an educator the other day who does a lot of research and development, with their nonprofit, on how they restructure the school system in the United States and also around the world. And, one of the things that comes up a lot, people say that they're bad at math, right? Some people just feel like they're inherently bad at math. And I don't think anyone is. And I've heard this a few times. No one is bad at math or bad at anything. They just haven't been taught the way to learn it that works for them. We all are unique learners. And so we might learn in a unique way, but we can all learn almost everything if we practice and we try and we fail and we iterate and change and keep going. We'll figure it out. And I think that's the key difference, is we can all learn to have high agency and make that one of our core traits.
Okay, so many people have valuable experience but remain relatively unknown. What's stopping them from turning that experience into authority?
I think a lot of people, and it's funny, there's this study, and I kind of butcher this every time I say it, but there's a study from the late 90s called the Dunning-Kruger effect. And that, in a nutshell, it's, people that are smart and have high intelligence tend to have much more doubt, than people that have lower intelligence, because the people that have lower intelligence tend to not really have any doubt because they're not thinking about what could go wrong or not. They're just, kind of doing. And so when I've interviewed all of the people that have been our clients in the past, and I'm talking Secret Service folks, Fortune 500 folks, Bank of America presidents, Pentagon folks, like, they're some of the most decorated people, the most experienced people in the entire world. And they all have the same thing that they would say on each one of our onboarding calls, which is, I mean, are you sure someone's going to listen to me? Like, who am I to share this message? And every time I hear them say that, it's like I sit in my seat almost baffled, because I'm like, you're the people that everyone wants to listen to, that has all the experience. And so, I think that everyone that has experience usually is pretty intelligent, and they put a lot of work in. But because they're so intelligent and experienced, they have a healthy sense of doubt that no one wants to hear from them. And then they fail to package up the things that they repeatedly do. And I think, an example and an exercise that I like to give people is, you've probably been asked the same question 5 or 6 times in the last month or the last year. And you've given this great piece of advice, or you've helped someone at your company or family or friends, or something that you are an expert at. But because it's not this like big deal to you, right? It's not like an aha moment for you. It's just common sense for you. And so you teach someone this thing, you teach them this thing that feels very common sense to you, but to them it's world changing and world shattering. And so I think that concept holds people back as well, because they don't realize how much power they have and how much strength they have and how much intelligence they have to be able to package up that thing that feels common to them into something that can help transform thousands or millions of people's lives.
Okay, so how can an executive or business owner turn years of experience into a signature message that people remember?
You know, the biggest key thing I think is starting with their experience. We help our speakers do this as well, as we look through their experience. So if they have a book already, or if they don't, if they have a signature talk, or if they don't, if they have a consulting offer or advisory offer, or if they don't, if they have none of those tools or none of those assets around their personal brand, it's really just looking at their experience in life, their business experience, but also their personal experience, and then figuring out what are those things that people ask you over and over again, and starting to or that you help with. What are the things that you consult teams on, or you consult your team members on, or you've helped your company grow and create a framework or some kind of solution? And there's this framework, there's a system that people have in the way they think and the way they act and the way that they do things, the way they show up. But because, again, it's the way that they live their life, they don't notice that they have created a framework, they've created a system. So that's kind of one of the first things we do with people when we're either helping them write their best-selling book or helping them build their signature talk and, create their keynote, is go, okay, let's look at your experience. Let's look at the things that you're great at and what you've done over your lifetime of work, and find the commonalities, find the patterns, and then figure out what is that thing and how do we put that into a clear, either a 3-step framework or a 5-step or whatever. Maybe there's not a specific amount of steps, but some kind of clear framework, and understand what the result is that the people get from them going through that work, like them going through that framework, going through that process. And once we can do that, now we can kind of reverse engineer, okay, if the outcome is X, what are all the things that lead to that outcome for the audience or the people that you help? And so once we create that framework, now we know, this is the real value. This is the thing that people want to read and get from the book, or this is the thing that an event coordinator wants to pay you to go speak on stage and talk about. It's the outcome. It's the thing that the audience is going to receive by reading your book, or is going to receive by being on the stage and hearing you talk. And so that is really that process, is extracting that experience, figuring out the patterns, and then reverse engineering it. So there's a step-by-step kind of journey that someone can take to get that outcome. And we all have that. Everyone with enough experience has some kind of framework there that they just maybe aren't aware of yet.
Okay, thank you. So let's talk about there are many endless information that people consume today, and including myself, but we hardly take action. We are suffering from information overload. So why do you think consumption has become such a substitute for creation?
Such a good question. I know I keep saying that, but but it really is a great question. In my first book that I published in 2016 is called The Human Experience. It took me 4 or 5 years to write it, but in the first book I ever wrote, The Human Experience, in the first chapter, the first section of the first chapter, I talk about the biggest choice that any of us have to make is between being a creator or being a victim. And the kind of other angle to that is, being a creator or being a consumer, right? We all consume. We all buy something, whether it's food or it's clothes or shelter or toys or technology or whatever it is. We buy and we consume. And it's the same thing for information, right? The same thing for information, where we watch a video and we watch a YouTube, then we go to another podcast, and then we read an article, and it makes us feel like we're accomplishing something. It gives us this little dopamine rush when we learn something new, or we understand something new, or we hear something new. and we get stuck in that dopamine hit. We feel like we've done something. We feel like we've accomplished something. And so that in and of itself is, I think, why consumption has overtaken the act of creation, because it's so much easier. It's so much less friction to just log on to YouTube or wherever people watch their podcast or Spotify, whatever it is. And again, I'm not against it. We're doing a podcast right now. I love content. I love creating content. I love writing books. I love reading books. I think there's nothing wrong with consuming. But if you consume a podcast or you read a Substack article or you go read one of my books, you should be able to take a step of action. You should be able to do something with that information, whether it be journaling afterwards and taking down your notes and saying, here's the things that I learned and here's what I'm going to do about this next. And then scheduling it, putting it on your calendar and saying, here's the 30 minutes or hour or 10 minutes that I'm going to actually take action on that thing, because it's a lot harder to take action. It's a lot harder to go execute, but you have to get yourself to do it and not just let the kind of dopamine rush of the hit from dopamine of watching the video or, listening to the podcast or reading the book be enough and think that you're actually satisfied. It's the shiny object syndrome, but it's just gone to a large degree. Because like you said, there's a million different podcasts or articles or influencers or content creators, and thousands of books are published every day. Pick exactly what you want to learn and block out everything else. Only listen to podcasts or read books or read articles that are specific to the thing you want to learn right now, and then remove all the other noise, and then wait until you take action on the thing you just learned. Then layer in another new book or new topic or new podcast after you've completed that first task. Otherwise, if you're trying to learn Japanese and German and Russian and Chinese all at the same time, you're going to get really nowhere with all of them, versus just focusing on one language at a time and mastering it until you move on to the next.
Thank you so much for that. I think you are just speaking to me because I've been trying to learn a new language and I don't know. I've been trying to learn. I want to learn Chinese, German, and French, but I'm finding it hard to know where to begin. So maybe I'll just pick one, and from there, I'll just go. So, how does high agency change the way someone responds to failure, rejection, or circumstances outside their control?
Yeah, I think it's again another great question. I'm happy I was talking to you too. I was really, and again, me sharing all those things is me talking about myself, right? Because I'm the same way. Like I want to do everything at once, and then I've had to force myself to like just focus on the one thing at a time. But again, to get to your question, I think it's, when I was born into in the United States, and I was born in Section 8 welfare, and we had absolutely no money. And there was a lot of violence around me and a lot of just like, sadness and abuse and, all these different things from the time I was born until I was almost 7 years old. And so all those circumstances, like I had no choice in the matter. I was a baby, like I couldn't choose to have been born somewhere else or had something else. And so as I like grew up and I tried to heal through some of that childhood trauma and like the things I experienced, what I realized the gift that it gave me was the drive to be able to like make decisions. Like because I was born in this darkness, like there was no one above me in my mind besides, the higher power that I choose to call God or whatever that is for everybody else. Like there was nothing above me that I thought made all the rules. And so that might not be the same lesson for everybody, but when people have circumstances that are feeling like they're imposed on them, or like the universe is out to get you, or you're being punished by God, or whatever it is just saying, okay, I'm slipping into that victim mentality. I'm letting my mind go into blame and victimhood. And again, it doesn't mean that we're not literally being victims, because sometimes people are victimized, and that's like a physical fact, right? That happens. But if we can take control of our minds and take control of our emotions, no one can change that. Like no one can take our emotions or our thoughts or our minds from us. And so when we can step back into that power that we have, take our power back, look at our minds and say, where am I giving my power away? Where am I letting my thoughts go and think about that person, place, or thing that is making me feel negative and pissed off and angry or sad? Where am I letting my emotions go and give my power away? And almost like you can almost visually see like this energy being sucked from your heart and going to some person that's making you angry or sad or resentful. You can pull that power back. You can pull that energy back from your mind and your emotions and your entire being and bring it back into yourself and realize that you have control over how you think and how you feel and what you do, even if what you do is limited by the circumstances that you're in. And then figure out what is within your control. Like, what can I research? What can I write? What can I create? Like, I can create a free Substack account and I can write articles with some free AI account or with my own handwriting, and I can publish it, and I can create 10 different social media accounts on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and WeChat or whatever the thing is. And I can post everywhere all day long with all these different free tools. It's like, that there's a way to get beyond the circumstances when we want to find a way out of the place we're in, and we stop giving all of our power away to everyone else out there. We bring it back to ourselves. We have so much energy to focus and create anything we want.
Okay, so ultimately, here's my final question for you.
Mhm.
What does AI agency life look like, and how can someone begin taking back control of their own life and career?
I like that. For me, a high agency life is similar to what I've built in a lot of ways. And it's had its ups and downs and different things along the way. But I know for me, like what I really wanted since I was a kid was I wanted freedom. And for a long time, I thought that meant I had to be financially free, like financial freedom. Like I had to have millions and millions of dollars in order to never work again. And that's why I, you know, got my broker's license and started a real estate company when I was 20. And why I bought a nightclub and a restaurant and a vodka brand and like launched all this stuff in my early 20s and like then built a media agency and wrote my books and, all these different things. But it was really when I was 25 and I'd already owned a nightclub and a restaurant and, launched a vodka brand. It was like, this young kid with all the time and attention and, women and money and all the things. And I was miserable. And when I turned inward and I started meditating in January 2012, I had this spiritual experience where I connected to like the oneness of all life and felt this unconditional love and oneness pour out of me. And my personality, like Corey Gladwell as a person, was gone. Like that personality was gone. And so for 3 weeks, I was just connected to this ultimate like oneness of all that exists. And what that experience taught me was that I didn't need anything externally to have that freedom internally. And so as I've like incorporated that experience into the rest of my life, really I've realized it's like I want time freedom and I want to be able to spend time with my family and my loved ones, and I want to be able to have good relationships, and I want to be able to spend time with my body and my health and run and work out. And I want to create. I want to create art. I want to write books. I want to help people and serve at a greater level. And so really if someone wants a high agency life, they should start designing each one of these aspects of life, right? Like figure out your score, your own personal life score for where your mental health is at, where your emotional intelligence is at, where your financial freedom numbers are at, where your time freedom numbers are at, where your relationship, freedom numbers are at. And you can score these based on what you want. And it's really just defining what that life is that you really want and then figuring out what it takes to get there. Because you might not need $1 million or $10 million or $100 million. Maybe you don't need any of that. Maybe you need a certain amount of money every month to be able to have absolute time freedom. And maybe you want to cultivate more relationships so you can spend more time with people you love. And maybe you want to run 3 or 4 times a week so you can get the body where you want it to be and focus on your sleep. But you can start to design this life and figure out what it's going to cost you investment wise, like time or money or emotions or mental load to get it. And maybe it's a lot closer than you realize. And so that to me is a high agency life, creating a life around a way you can have an impact from your experience and from the authority that you've developed. And you can have freedom and control over the life that you've built. So I don't know if that answered your question, but I think it did.
Yeah, sure. That answers my question. So, thank you so much. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Control or Be Controlled. I think one of the biggest takeaways from this conversation is that opportunity isn't always something we find. Sometimes it's something we create. High agency challenges us to stop waiting for permission, take ownership of what we can control, and start building something that creates leverage for the future. Your experience, your knowledge, your ideas, and your story can become assets, but only if you are willing to do something with them. All right, so Corey, before you go, how can listeners connect with you and learn more about what you do?
Yeah. Thank you again for having me. And for anyone that's listening that wants to connect with me, they can go to CoreyGladwell.com, or they can find me on almost every social site, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all of that at Corey S. Gladwell. Yeah, on pretty much all social platforms, LinkedIn, all of those. Would love to connect and connect me on Substack. I share a lot there as well.
All right, thank you so much. And to my audience, thank you all as well. Do well to share this episode with someone out there who needs uh, to see this and hear this. And make sure to leave a review. And I'm sure if you want to become high agency, you know what to do. Start taking control of your life. Until next time, stay curious, take ownership, and remember, if you don't take control of your direction, someone or something else will. Thank you so much, Corey, for coming to my show.
Thank you.